evolution, the textbooks are full of lies that are shown to the kids to try to get them to believe in evolution. And I resent that. You have varieties of corn, and they probably had a common ancestor, and it was a corn of some kind. And there's all sorts of kinds of corn today, but you still crossbreed them and you still get corn. You never get a hamster or a tomato or a whale to grow on your corn stalk. Nothing changes. There's varieties of dogs, and they probably had a common ancestor. You have big horses and little horses, and they might have had a common ancestor. And as far as the horse and the zebra and the mule not being able to breed, well, what we're seeing is branches on a tree that came from a common root, and now they're so different they can no longer interbreed. That still doesn't prove they didn't have a common ancestor. Think about the argument. He's saying a horse and a donkey or a mule or jackass or whatever it was he mentioned cannot breed and produce fertile offspring, and therefore they're different species. Well, maybe so, if it depends on your definition of species. Who gets to decide what the definition of species is, for one thing? But get a horse and a zebra and put a 5-year-old next to him and say, are these the same kind of animal? Oh, yeah. Anybody could tell you they're the same kind of animal. Seeing the branches on the tree where they now have diversified, where they're no longer interfertile, well, that doesn't prove they didn't have a common ancestor. It also certainly doesn't prove the horse and the banana are related to a rock 4.6 billion years ago. We got varieties of cows and things happen, but the textbooks contain things that just aren't true. I've got a whole 2.5-hour video going through lies in the textbooks that kids are exposed to try to get them to swallow this evolution theory. And it's really sad. They're going to tell the kids the appendix is vestigial. Well, I'm sorry, the appendix is part of the immune system. It is not vestigial. Take that out of the book, okay? There's no such thing as a vestigial structure. This book tells the kids that the whale used to walk around. It says the whale has a vestigial pelvis and leg bones. Vestigial pelvis and leg bones, evidence of its evolution from 4-legged land-dwelling ancestors. Well, the guy that wrote this is either ignorant of his whale anatomy or he's a liar, because those bones are essential for the whales to reproduce. Muscles attached to those bones. The male and female whale bones are very different. That has nothing to do with the whale walking on land, but this kind of stuff is presented to the kids as evidence for the evolution theory. And I'm sorry, it's a lie. If you have some real evidence, I would like to see it, but don't lie to the kids. This one says the humans have a tailbone that is of no apparent use. I had a guy tell me that in a debate in Huntsville, Alabama. He said, humans, we got proof for evolution. You no longer need your tailbone. I said, sir, there are 9 muscles that attach to the tailbone, without which you cannot perform some very valuable functions. But if you think the tailbone is vestigial, sir, I will pay to have yours removed. Bend over. It is not vestigial. I would like to point out there are no vestigial structures, and secondly, even if there were, that would be the opposite of evolution. That's losing, not gaining. Show me how we gain something. And even people like Pierre Gross, who believes in evolution, said mutations do not produce any kind of evolution. All you get is a mutant variety. And then the textbooks tell the kids that natural selection goes in with evolution somehow. Oh, come on. I got nothing against natural selection. Natural selection is a conservative process that keeps the species strong. It doesn't change it to something else. It's sort of like a quality control. It's not going to change it to anything else. But the textbook tells the kids natural selection causes evolution, and that just simply is not true. Natural selection keeps birds, birds, and dogs, dogs. It doesn't turn a bird to a dog or anything in between. It's a conservative process. They tell the kids the fruit fly is evidence for evolution. All they did after years of mutating those poor flies is got flies that were worse off than Grandpa Fly. They got flies with curled wings and flies with no wings. That's not a fly, that's a crawl. They got all kinds of mutated flies. They never got a beneficial mutation. They're going to tell the kids, it's still in your textbooks right here in Little Rock, Arkansas, that the peppered moth is evidence for evolution. After 40 years of watching, exactly 2 moths were found on the trees. 2 in 40 years. So they glued dead moths to the trees in order to take the picture to put in the textbooks to make the kids believe in evolution. That's a lie, folks. They're going to tell them there's evidence from similar structure. The forelimb of the animals is all similar. That proves a common ancestor. No, no, no. That proves a common designer. Chevy and Ford all have 4 wheels on the ground. That proves they all evolved from a skateboard 18 million years ago. No, it proves it's a good design and it works good, okay? That's what it proved. They're going to tell the kids the human embryo has gill slits. That was proven wrong 125 years ago, but it's still in textbooks today. Ernst Haeckel made up this whole thing in 1869. His charts are used right now, today, at the University of West Florida. And I guarantee that same concept is being taught right now in Little Rock, Arkansas, and it was proven wrong in 1874. If you have some evidence for evolution, I want to see it, but don't lie to the kids.
Should we teach that the Earth is flat in geography class, since the Bible describes it as such in many passages? See Revelation 7:1, Psalm 24:2, 104:5, Isaiah 24:18, Matthew 4:8, 1 Peter 1:20, others. Obviously, I don't think we should. If it says the Earth is flat in the Bible, the Earth is obviously not flat. That's been proven. We can't teach that in geography class. I don't need 3 minutes to answer that question.
Okay. Ooh, there we go. I didn't get time to boot up the verse, but the Bible teaches very clearly the earth is round. It says, yes, in the book of Isaiah, chapter 40, that the Lord sits on the circle of the earth. Here it is right here. Isaiah chapter 40 and verse 22, it says, the Lord sits upon the circle of the earth. The Hebrew word there is the word for sphere, a ball, a three-dimensional object. So the Bible does not teach the earth is flat. A few heathen a few hundred years ago started teaching it was flat, and they tried to blame that on the Christians. I'm sorry, the earth is round, okay? I don't have a problem with that. Thank you. I guess I get to ask a question first. Please state the second law of thermodynamics. And within a closed system, entropy will increase. This second law of thermodynamics is interesting. The second law is stated many different ways, okay? And no matter how you state it, somebody else is going to find a different definition someplace else. So basically, it boils down to the idea that everything tends toward disorder. The evolutionist somehow has got it into his mind that if you add energy, you can overcome the second law of thermodynamics. Now, this is certainly not true. Adding energy does not help anything. You have to have something to utilize that energy. The sun adds lots of energy to the earth every day. All of it is destructive, unless there's a system to utilize that energy called chlorophyll, which is a very complex molecule. If it weren't for chlorophyll, the sunlight is eventually going to peel the paint off your car and destroy the roof of your house, and when it's done, it's going to destroy the rest of the house. Adding energy doesn't help. Filling your front seat of your car full of gasoline isn't going to make it run faster. You have to have a complex system to utilize that gasoline called a carburetor and a drivetrain. So the normal response to the second law of thermodynamics from the evolutionist is, well, in a closed system, you know, if you add in the first place, the universe is a closed system, okay? Where's this extra energy coming from? Secondly, I'd like to point out, adding energy doesn't help. We added lots of energy to Iraq a few years ago. We didn't organize a thing. Adding energy disorganizes things. The idea of a human embryo developing from 2 cells into a full-grown human, they'll say that's an example of the opposite of the second law of thermodynamics. No, it's not. It's following a complex DNA code, and there's an enormous amount of input of intelligent energy. You need not only energy, you need intelligence, and you need a system to utilize the energy. The second law of thermodynamics is one of the main proofs that evolution didn't and can't and won't ever happen. Thank you.
Can I see the card? Thanks. Second law of thermodynamics, within a closed system, the change in entropy will always increase. Why? I guess I don't really understand that. You have to have an intelligent designer to, I guess, to overcome the second law of thermodynamics. I don't really grasp the answer. And I guess